everyone. Welcome to tonight's Virtual Bison Tour. My name is Kylie Warren and I am your host, and I'm so grateful that you are all here with us tonight. And today we're going to talk about the Great American Bison. We want to thank you all for joining us, and we are especially grateful for your interest in the Crane Trust. This is a free program, and we will be doing a members only program on Wednesday, so we hope you do return and join us then. At this time, I want to invite you to introduce yourselves in the comments. Please tell us who you are, where you're watching from, and if you're familiar at all with the Crane Trust. I also want to give a special shout out to any Crane Trust members who are listening, because without your support, we would not be able to do what we are doing here at Crane Trust to protect habitat for the cranes, as well as these beautiful bison that we're looking at right now. And what we're seeing right now is footage from the 4th of July here at Crane Trust in the Ruge pasture. That's R-U-G-E. These are bison at a watering hole. And this mini session is a sneak peek at one of the many virtual programs we offer throughout the year here at Crane Trust. Virtual programs begin with what you're looking at now, live wildlife footage that has been captured either in the field or through our live cameras. And the virtual program really evolved out of crane season. When we had COVID and we wanted to bring the crane migration to the public in a way, shape, or form. I'm going to show you one of our live river cameras really quickly here so you can get a sense of what that view looks like. I know some of you have been watching earlier at the wasps that have been swarming around the scene. It's been kind of fun to watch tonight. But let me just show you, give you a quick tour of our live cameras, and we'll come right back to the bison at the watering hole. This is our river camera that looks to the west, and we can actually move this camera and show you live views of what's happening on our river front. Our flagship virtual crane program shows you this view every morning and night, 5 days a week in March, when the cranes are at large. And so what you would see in March is cranes flying about or landing in the river as the sun starts to dip into the sky. And we're looking south right now, and that is a view of Martin Meadow where we manage habitat for cranes. And as we pan to the east, we will see the tip of Mormon Island. So these cameras that sit on our river can also give us a live view of our habitat and what's going on throughout the year, not just during crane season. However, I do hope that you join us during crane season. I'm going to take you back to the watering hole at Ruge. These are our bison here again on the 4th of July. And while our flagship program is all about the cranes, we do like to offer 5 other programs about other species here on the habitat. Bison being one. We do bison in July because it is National Bison Month. And I invite you to ask any questions you may have about bison. We'll get to answering them. And please introduce yourselves in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from. And have you seen bison here at Crane Trust or elsewhere around the country? And while looking at these bison, what we have is a baby, that's a baby calf. We call them cinnamons. And cinnamon bison tend to begin being born in April. And this year we have 42 in our herd at the moment. And the bison were named the national mammal in 2016. And since then, we have commemorated the month of July as a nation to the bison, dubbing it National Bison Month. This day and month celebrates the comeback of this majestic animal, and there was a time when this animal nearly became extinct. And while bison are on the increase today, they've struggled. About 200 years ago, there were more than 30 million bison roaming across North America, and sadly, they were reduced to just 325 animals around the 1880s. Today, there are over 500,000 bison, that's 500,000, and that's one bison, more than one bison, for every crane we counted this season. So we're very glad to have the bison on the rise, and while their bison are still on the rise, they are still struggling with genetic bottlenecking, which is why conservation herds like the one you're watching now are very important to the longevity of this species. We do work with a variety of conservation herds, and in addition to visiting Crane Trust, you can see great American bison at a number of national parks and conservation sites around the country. I just had the opportunity to see them in Kentucky, Missouri, and in Oklahoma on my way back from a trip that I was doing in Kentucky. So there are those opportunities across the country, and it is fun to kind of see what the different herds look like. I encourage you to get out in your own hometowns and look for bison. And while we watch these bison, I want to say thanks to everyone who is on. Debbie, thank you for joining us. Craft Expressions with Kate, thanks for being here. Raul Garza, thank you so much for joining us from Los Angeles. That's very far away. Billy, thank you for being here. Billy is a great supporter of the Crane Trust and a wonderful helper of all things. In fact, I want to spruik Billy's talk tomorrow night. There's a potluck where Josh Wiese will be on talking about the Great American Bison. Josh Wiese is our land manager. Let me get you a clip. We're now going to look at baby bison. As Josh Wiese will be giving his talk on bison tomorrow evening. So this footage that we're looking at now is actually slow motion footage of our baby bison. I took this footage the day of the tornado in April. So if you all remember that pretty frightening day, and it was very windy, so we were shooting in slow motion, hopefully to cut some of the shake out. But as you can see, these baby calves are very small compared to the previous shot. Welcome, Yvette. Thank you so much as well. Yvette is also a great supporter of the Crane Trust. Dad Gammett, thank you for being here. And Judith Sandine, thank you all for being here. If you have not introduced yourselves, feel free to do so in the comments. A little bit about the technique of how we capture these bison. As you probably have seen on social media, it's not a good idea to approach bison with your camera, especially in national parks where bison are wild. However, we do use long lens cameras. We're quite a distance away from these animals, and you can see the rain between the bison and us in this shot. And we take a lot of caution to make sure that these bison are maintained in as much of a people-less habitat as possible. We do have to care for them, obviously. They are in fences, but we do our best to have as much hands-off as possible and practice low-stress handling. So when we're out there, we park far away from the bison. That doesn't mean the bison won't walk up to us. If they do, we just stay calm, but we make sure to maintain a safe distance while capturing this footage. The cow and the calf you are looking at right now, you can see this little black calf roaming around in this shot. And this is kind of an interesting anomaly that can happen with bison. Recently, bison cow 1407 gave birth to this black calf, and it is believed that this calf's dad would have either been what we call C1 or C2, are bulls originating in Caprock Canyon State Park in Texas. We believe one of these bulls has to be the father. Donald Beard, who was the park superintendent down there, explained that their herd has a history of producing black calves. In recent year, their herd has produced fewer black calves, which occurs because black fur is a recessive gene, according to the Texas A&M, meaning that mom and dad must both have recessive alleles to produce a black calf. And so this is something that you see in the Texas herd. We don't know, because of that, the fact that the bison went down to that 325 number, whether this was a universal thing that happened across all the calves in the country. But right now it seems to only be happening in Texas. Cow 1407 came from T.R. Hughes' herd in Crawford, Nebraska, with our starting bison herd in January 2015. She was a yearling and produced calves ever since she's been here, ever since she's been old enough to do so. And bulls C1 and C2 were purchased on the Prairie Legends Conservation Bison Auction, arrived here in 2020 as 2-year-olds. They have not reproduced until now, and they are now currently 6 years old. And here's this adorable little black calf. This calf is starting to lighten up over time. So I think eventually they'll be maybe slightly darker than a normal calf, but I'm not sure. We'll just have to see what happens. We're trying to keep documentation on it as much as possible. We did have a question from the audience. Are black bison rare as white bison? So white bison are actually more rare than black bison. However, this black bison are rare because they are like a recessive characteristic that needs to be able to create them. So you have to have 2 recessive genes from mom and dad, one from mom, one from dad, to have this black bison. So we're going to move on and look a little bit at some bison behavior. And what we're offering tonight here is a sneak peek. On Wednesday, we will have our primary bison program, and we'll be hosting Josh Wiese, who will talk to us all about his work as the land manager in land management here at Crane Trust. I apologize, range management. Here we go, bison wallowing. So this footage is mostly a blend of some footage that I caught earlier in this year, but also last year. The bison have not been wallowing as much this year, and I'm really eager to find out why. The weeks that I've been here have been significantly cooler than when I've usually filmed bison in the heat, so I'm not sure if that's an effect of this, but I wanted to be sure that we had at least a few minutes of bison wallowing and this behavior of them kind of loafing in the heat. This particular summer has been quite cool here on the plains compared to, say, last summer, where we had a lot of heat by comparison in July. We've also had a number of storms and rain events. And I'm not sure if that affects the bison wallowing or not, but I can say that Rugi is much muddier this year than it is last year. So craft expressions with Kate, that is actually a really excellent question. Currently our herd is sitting at 165 animals to include 42 calves. And you can see in this shot that they're really starting to kick up the dust. Both the adults and the calves practice some sort of wallowing technique. There's a little bit of wallowing in the last shot that I have to share with you tonight as well. But this calf right here, you can see him just digging in. And you'll see a lot of birds flying around. Most of these birds are cowbirds, and they coexist with the bison in a sort of symbiotic relationship. Unfortunately, cowbirds are parasitic breeders, but they seem to get on just fine with the bison. And what parasitic breeder means is that they lay their eggs in the nests of other birds, and then their babies get raised by other birds. So they don't have to raise babies all summer. They can hang out with the bison. And we are running a little bit over tonight, but that's okay. Just want to make sure you get some of this beautiful footage. I invite you all to ask questions if you have them. One thing to know is that our Crane Trust herd is the mixing of 13 ancestral herds, and it aims to preserve the genetic variation and produce genetically diverse offspring. Due to the bison's dramatic decrease in numbers, bison genetics are severely bottlenecked. We did mention this earlier. And this program aims to reunite lineages throughout the country and help diversify that genetic pool. And I think the black bison is a nice indicator that we're having some success in this. At least it's an anecdotal indicator. We do have another special story happening this summer with our bison herd. We are bottle feeding a bison, and if you want to know more about that, please join us on Wednesday on our full-length program to hear more about that story. Judith asks, I wonder how long it will be before folks stop calling them buffalo. That is a really good question. Were you raised calling them buffalo or bison? So here's the calf. You can see that these calves are much bigger than the previous shot of the baby calves. You can also see all the flies hanging on this other bison's back. And finally, I want to take you back to the Rugi pasture. This is footage captured earlier this month. As these storms are starting to come in, the bison are just hanging out in the grass field. And they are very adept and equipped to withstand the kind of weather we've been getting. They're probably enjoying that incredibly green grass that we've had that's kind of unique for this year. And I'm just curious if anybody has any questions at all for now, or perhaps later this week when you return on Wednesday to join us for a full-length program. Billy, that's an interesting fact. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it is hard when we have so much in Nebraska called buffalo this and buffalo that to actually, it would be very easy to forget the bison's name here. We just have a few minutes left, but I want to thank you all for joining us on tonight's mini session and for this guided virtual bison tour. I will be capturing more footage between now and Wednesday, and there is so much more to show you and share with you. Also, our range manager, Josh Wiese, will be on with us this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m. I really do hope you join us. And if you are a member, again, thank you for helping us and supporting our mission. We could not do this work without you. And it is because of you that we're able to protect and maintain the physical, hydrological, and biological integrity of the Big Bend area of the Platte River. This is a vital resource to so many wonderful species, to include sandhill cranes, whooping cranes, bobwhites, herons, bobolinks, killdeer, all kinds of moths and insects, the wasps buzzing around our live camera, which when we log off for the night, you'll be able to watch at your own leisure for the rest of the evening, as well as our great American bison that we're watching here tonight. I want to thank you all. If you have any interest in becoming Crane Trust members, I will drop the link in the comments so you can join. And I really hope to see you all on Wednesday night for the full program of this year's Virtual Bison Program. Thanks again for joining us, and this is Kylie Warren signing off for the evening. Have a great one.